Let's talk about maybe some of the things you do to get ready to go on vacation with your camera. Hey, welcome to another video. In this one, I'd like to talk about some of the different ways that you can travel with your camera when you go on vacation, along with some of the mistakes I've made in doing so. Maybe it will help you the next time you prepare to travel with your photography. Different ways you can travel would be to go on a cruise, or a tour that's designed really for photographers. They're out there, they can be expensive. To go on trips with other people in a small group that have designed photography tours. The advantages will be that the people taking you will likely, or should at least, have gone to those locations before and scouted out places where you can get some good images and be knowledgeable in their photography that they can help you. You'll get to meet a lot of new people. And the downside is you're somewhat restricted to where they want to take you, and likely it's going to cost you more to go with them than it would be to go on your own. So you have to weigh those decisions. On a cruise, you're likely with your family, some friends. If you are going to go on a cruise and try to do photography, my advice would be to try and find a cruise where your day isn't scheduled all the time. Meaning, I've gone on a couple of different Viking cruises, and they'll usually travel overnight, and you'll arrive in the morning, maybe go on a tour with the group in the morning, and then you'll have some free time in the afternoon. Or they'll drop you off in a location and you'll have free time during the day. And that's when you can go off and do some of your photography. One of the things I did was I'd go on the tours and look around for something I might want to photograph later in the day or maybe in the evening before the boat left dock and went to the next place. And I'd either go off on my own or maybe my wife would come with me, but I would structure it so that that was my photography time. When you go on, say, a bus tour like we did to the UK and Ireland back in 2015, I think it was, you were really structured around where they wanted to take you, and you were very limited in what you could do as far as photography. I did get a little bit of photography done, but that was a little bit more difficult. Now, there was one day where they allowed you pretty much a full day in Dublin on your own, and I got a couple of images that I was happy with there. But for the most part, on those bus tours, they're just driving you from one place to another, and other than a little pit stop to go to the bathroom or maybe the occasional photo stop, but it's generally no more than, at least on the tour we were on, no more than 10 or 15 minutes. So by the time you get off the bus, you snap one or two photos and you're back on the bus and moving again. Those type of trips to me are not ideal for photography. You have companies that will set up your whole itinerary for you and make all your hotel reservations and everything else, get your car reservation for you, and essentially do the work of a travel agent and give you your itinerary, but you're still driving all on your own. I mapped one of those things out one time, and they're a reputable company. I'm not going to mention the name. But when I broke it all down, they essentially were doubling the cost of what it would be for me to make those reservations on my own and just get my own rental car and go where I wanted to go. And on this trip, it's one of the few times where I'm getting a rental car, traveling with my wife. We're going to a few different locations, and I'm not really going to worry about having to be in one location at one particular time, where we can kind of take our time and go through and set up where I want to set up and have time to make those compositions. The problem, of course, is, and always is when it comes to landscape photography or any kind of vacation, is the weather. We've had some terrible luck with the weather on the last few vacations we took. We took one up into the Great Smoky Mountains in 2020 during COVID so that we could stay away from people and be outside and not really have to be around a lot of people. And wouldn't you know, there was a hurricane that came up through Louisiana and went up all through Tennessee and that whole area the week we were there, the remnants of the hurricane. So it rained. We went to Alaska last year. It rained every day but the last day. A couple of years ago, we went out to the Grand Tetons and there were fires from local states that were wafting down during the day and getting into the Jackson Hole Valley, and you could barely see the mountains. There was one morning where it had rained and it cleared out a lot of the smoke, and we were able to go and get a few photographs. So it's, no matter how hard you try, it's going to be weather dependent no matter how you travel and what you do. Some of the things that I've learned, some of the mistakes I made. The first time I went out to Grand Tetons in Yellowstone was in 2016. And I hadn't really discovered YouTube yet, and I don't know that there were many videos that had already been produced about that area at that time. So I was really reliant on a map. And whatever I could find, I bought a little book on that area, and I went through it and I followed where the book said to go, but it was essentially all the iconic locations, which was fine, but it was still all the iconic locations. We didn't get off the beaten path a whole lot. The other mistake I made was we went in, I believe, late May, maybe early June, and it never occurred to me that the elk, the moose, the deer, they shed their antlers every year. So trying to get one of those iconic shots of elk silhouetted against the back of a mountain or something with the antlers, they didn't have their antlers yet because they had shed them from the winter, and they all had little nubs for the most part. And that just didn't occur to me. I didn't do enough research to really even think about it. So the second time we went, in I believe 2022, we still went that same time of year, but I was aware of it and wasn't expecting to get those types of images. So I took different lenses and took different types of images. And this time I got deeper into that map and we went on different hikes where I could get a little bit different type of image, and we only spent one day really in Yellowstone instead of the first time where we spent a couple of days in Yellowstone. This time I focused more really just in the Jackson Hole area, but we had the wildfires, we had the smoke the whole time. So again, the weather kind of ruined it. One thought about the iconic images: do you want to go to a location and take the iconic shot? And a lot of people might be yelling at the screen right now, but my answer would be yes, take the iconic shot, but then go and try to find a different composition to put your own little twist on the iconic shot. And the reason why you want that iconic shot is 10 years from now, 5 years from now, believe it or not, it might not be there. Something may have changed. The first time we went to Jackson Hole at Schwarber's Landing, I got this photo right here. The second time we went, I wasn't able to get that same location because they changed where you can go, where you can stand, where you can't stand. And so I wouldn't be able to get that same shot even if I wanted to. Not only that, so many people know about it now that it's so crowded every morning, it's tough to get those shots. So get the iconic shot when you can get the iconic shot. One of the reasons why I'm doing this video is because I want to put it out there. I want to throw the question out there. Can you be too over-prepared? One of the things that I've done is I've watched every video I can on YouTube from not just photographers, but just people that are wandering around Iceland as vacation videos. And the reason why is because they might go to locations that the photographers don't go to, or they might just stumble into something. The other thing I did was I bought this book, which tells you about all the locations, how to get there, and some suggestions on what lens to use and things like that. It's been a pretty useful book. There was a recommendation by, I think, Mads Peter Iverson and a couple other people to get this map. So I picked it up. Shout out to Michael who put this map together. For anyone that might be traveling to Iceland, I can say that Michael, who puts this out, is a reputable guy. And the map is pretty good. There are a few spots on here that I found in some videos that aren't on his map. And this is designed for photographers, by the way. Of course, one of the big things you have to decide is if you're going to take a tripod or not. Now, I've never taken a tripod on any of the cruises, but I am going to take it on this trip. So I'm curious of your thoughts. Have you gotten to a point where you've over-prepared and you get to a location and you just find different things to photograph than what you originally thought you were going to do? Or did you stick to a plan, go to those locations? Was it a mixture? You know, I've gone back and forth with which lenses I want to take. I guess the point to this video was, one thing that I've learned for sure is to do your research. Even if you're just going on a cruise, to do your research as to what towns you're going to go to, and maybe find a photography tour. Like on the Princess cruises, they gave us a option to do a photography tour. But even that, the guy who was driving was a photographer, and we were driving by these mountain passes with this light just coming through and hitting these valleys that was just beautiful. And there were only, I think, either 6 of us or 8 of us on this bus. And he'd pull over to the side for a second and he'd say, "Oh, look at that view, isn't that beautiful?" And I was saying, "Yeah, can we get out and photograph it? This is a photography tour." He goes, "Oh, don't worry about it. We'll get it on the way back." Well, the light's going to change by the time we get back. He's a photographer. He should know that. But he said, "Oh, no, we have a schedule. We have to get up to the mountain because I think the snow's going to come in and we need to get up there and get back before the snow comes in." So we get to the top of the mountain. There's no, well, there were flurries. I admit there were some flurries. And by the time we got back to that one spot, I got this shot here, which is an okay image. But an hour before that, the light was just gorgeous coming through that area, but it was gone. And the same way with this photograph here. It's a nice photograph. I'm glad I took it. But had I been able to wait around for a little bit longer and wait for the clouds to move or wait for the light to change a little bit, I probably could have got a better photograph. So those are the drawbacks of if you want to go on a tour with other people and other people are driving you. The advantage is you're not driving, so you don't get as tired. So when you go on some of these package tours where they're doing all the driving and they're preparing all the meals, that's the big advantage to that. You don't get quite as tired. However, you're stuck on their schedule. So those are the pros and cons to it. Anyway, some of the things I've learned. Maybe you picked up a tip here and there. I hope you learned something. Till next time, take good care. Please like and subscribe. and I'll see you soon.